the Marvin Harrison Jr. conversation is a little bit different to me, right? He's in the same boat where he doesn't have a traditional agent. I think he's being represented by his dad, who is obviously a great NFL player, and Caleb Williams is in the same boat. But some of the PR stuff with Caleb Williams is kind of done with, right? He got drafted. Everything seems to be okay. He's going to play for them. He's their starting quarterback. No problem. Marvin Harrison Jr., some of these things are not only coming up, but they're getting worse as time goes on, right? So the best example of this is Fanatics. Fanatics filed a lawsuit against him, basically saying that he hasn't honored their contract that they signed last year with him. And Fanatics says right in the lawsuit, I'm sure you've read at this point, that they've worked with over 3,000 NFL players, and they've never filed a lawsuit against any of them, right? And the situation is fairly simple for those who don't or haven't followed it. Marvin Harrison Jr. and his camp are essentially saying that they don't have a deal in place with Fanatics, and they want to go sign a trading card deal. Now, it's important to stipulate that this is different from the NFL's group licensing agreement. The group licensing agreement allows Fanatics to sell your jersey. It puts you in video games. It allows the NFLPA to go out and negotiate on your behalf licensing deals. Now, the best players in the NFL are making a few $1 million a year from that group licensing agreement. The bottom tier players in the NFL are making, tens of thousands of dollars. So there's a little bit of a range there. But what Marvin Harrison Jr. had was different. Fanatics came to him in college and said, we want to sign you to an autograph deal. You're going to sign footballs, helmets, trading cards, whatever we have for you. You're going to get X number of dollars. I've heard that it was over $1 million. And we're going to pay you this kind of scheduled rate. There's some incentives in there if you get drafted in the top 10, if you become a Pro Bowler, if you win a Super Bowl, if you win an MVP award, whatever it is. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is now saying, I didn't sign that, right? He has filtered this through a few different media personalities, including Pat McAfee, who said it on his show last week. Fanatics is very clearly saying, you did sign it, right? And someone asked me, hey, Joe, why would there be a discrepancy of whether he signed it or not? And my whole thing is, well, he probably signed it, right? If Fanatics is willing to file a lawsuit the first time out of 3,000 players that they've worked with, they're going to have to present evidence that he signed the document, which they're potentially going to be able to do. Fanatics is now saying that he went back and he wanted to renegotiate the terms, probably because he's been offered more money by other competitors or thinks he's deserving of more money now that he's not in the NFL. The problem with this is that I've been told, and I think this was redacted from the lawsuit, but maybe it's in there somewhere, was that he's already been paid 6 figures of the 7-figure sum, right? So not only does he know that he signed the agreement, but he's already been paid money from the agreement, and now he wants to go and renegotiate the agreement. And I'm curious your take on this, but my understanding of it is like, this is something where an agent or a business partner that has done these deals before would probably tell you that the juice is not worth the squeeze, and you should probably just honor the contract that you signed, even if you think that you're worth a little bit more today than you were a year ago. What is your overall opinion and kind of just analysis of that disagreement and deal overall?
Well, there's never a good sign when a multi-billion-dollar company is suing the first athlete of 3,000 athletes. As you said, if he's earned money on this, they've acted upon the agreement. That's going to be a big thing for a jury to weigh if it goes to trial. They've acted upon this, whether it's a binding term sheet, whether it's a fully blown contract. Hundreds of thousands have been paid out of 7-figure deal. It's not good for Harrison. We don't know the full thing. I've read the 18-page complaint. It's highly redacted. As you said, you don't see a lot of information about money or terms. But what's interesting to me is that Harrison continues to be obstinate about this with his advice, his dad, Marvin Harrison Sr., and whoever else is advising him. I don't know where he thinks this is going to go. I guess looking back, you sort of say, well, when you did this deal in May of 2023, a year ago, maybe you should have been more demanding about the bump if you go top 5 in the NFL. If you go to, I don't know, if something happens where you're much more vaunted than maybe you were thinking about a year ago. So this probably is just a salvo to try to get Harrison to settle. Mm-hmm. I guess the one little piece of good news for Harrison, this is a request for a jury trial. And just thinking about a jury of normal people going up there, there's an empathy factor to an athlete who's going to be well-known no matter what jury hears it. He's obviously one of the highest well-known players in college football, going up against a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Now, I don't know if he'll paint himself as unadvised or no matter what the counsel he had, and I think he did have good counsel on this, maybe a jury says, geez, they're trying to take advantage of this poor young kid and he should make more, and look what other companies would pay him. But stepping back as a lawyer beyond that empathetic note does not look like a good case for Harrison's side.
Yeah, it feels like one of those instances too where Fanatics specifically would get more out of this if they just let it go. But I think they want to be very careful around not setting a precedent of, hey, if you don't like your deal, we're going to let you get out of it. And I actually think that, most of the commentary around this was that Fanatics was offering these terrible terms to college athletes who were willing to sign it at the time because of NIL, and they wanted cash up front. And then when they got to the NFL, they're worth 10 times more.
Right.
And when I look at the terms and I hear over $1 million for this agreement, that's really not that bad based on everything that I've seen from the market of what these companies are willing to pay. And Fanatics is obviously the biggest, but if you think about Harrison Jr., he got drafted to Arizona, which is a smaller media market than some of the other teams that were in that range. And he hasn't played it down yet, right? So he's obviously or expected to be a very good player. He could be a fantastic player, one of the best at his position, but you're still in a relatively small market. And now you've put yourself in a position where your jersey can't be sold at the most exciting time that there is for fans, right? When the NFL draft comes around, that's usually when they sell the most jerseys. You're potentially not going to be in the video game as a rookie, which I think is another great marketing opportunity, although you don't earn a ton of money. So there's been a few things here and there where I think to myself, like, sure, your family's advising you. You have other advisors that you're paying some rate to potentially. But there's been a few instances where, I just think things probably could have been handled a little bit better, and things have leaked out to the media that are obviously a little bit one-sided. Now we're seeing the other side, and they don't necessarily add up to maybe the best overall deal for him as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you see estimates of millions of dollars of damages for Fanatics, I don't think it's about the money with them, as you said. I mean, again, they're just rolling in money. They continue to have these massive deals with the NFL and NBA and et cetera. It's about precedent. And as a lawyer, that to me is everything, because if Marvin Harrison can do this, what about the next guy? Yeah. That's what Fanatics is really trying to protect, the process more than anything else. And for it to get to court, there has had to have been a lot of discussions, or just ignoring by the Harrison side. Listen,
well, in the complaint, they say that Marvin Harrison Sr. asked them for the contract. They sent it to him, and he says, "If you think that'll hold up in court, good luck," or something like that, right? Yeah. And Fanatics was like, "Well, it will. So we're just going to sue at this point." And it didn't need to get to this point, but to your point, I think Fanatics is trying to protect themselves.
And you mentioned Harrison along with Caleb. There's a couple of things different. Obviously, doing his own contract, and this, but also if people noted during the training process, combine, he not only didn't go to the combine and didn't fall in line with most.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, at least some of these guys do interviews or just show up for the physical. He's not doing that.
Yeah.
And he did no combine specific training, which I know a lot of people ask me, Andrew, is this going to hurt him? And I'm like, well, no, because he'll be the top non-quarterback. And we've kind of known he's going to be the top non-quarterback for a year. So in that way, he kind of bucked the trend, and he became this, this maverick out there, not doing what everyone else is doing. But on this side, it doesn't look like he's got a good legal case.
So I'm totally on board with a lot of that, which it sounds like you are as well, of like kind of doing things a little bit differently. He's the 1% again of the 1%. He has the power in this situation to do what he wants to do when it comes to the combine. The problem with that is if you do it and everything else goes well, everyone thinks you're smart. But when you do it and other things go poorly, like this with Fanatics, then everyone thinks it's a pattern, right? Of, oh, does this add to that? And now it's worse. So I think he needs to be a little bit careful. And again, I hope some of this stuff gets cleaned up. But the next thing I want to go ahead.
I think my last comment is agreeing with you. They're difficult, but not different. He's admired for being different, but he doesn't want to be perceived as difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah.